everyone, and welcome to the Premier League panel show. You can tell we have a full panel when the heads are smaller than the usual sizes. But yes, there's a lot to talk about. We have a full panel here. We have Shay with Villa, Sully with Newcastle, Glenn with Brentford, and Alex with Fulham. And obviously, I'm your host, Timuchin, with Liverpool over here. Anybody who watches the channel regularly gets to hear a whole lot about me, probably more than they would like to. So we'll start with you boys. I'm going to try to give the microphone to you boys as much as possible so we can kind of go around and talk about the performances overall. I want to get your guys' take on Chelsea is one of the topics I want to talk about a little bit, but also like the title race along with some other things. So we'll do what we normally do and go through the board real quick, hitting the games. We have a couple of happy faces, a couple of frustrated faces, I'm assuming, as we go over here. But Brighton 3, Chelsea 0. Like I say, we'll come back to that. I do want to talk to you guys about Chelsea at the end and get your guys' take on it. Leicester City, Arsenal 2. I woke up in the crack of dawn to this, and they were tied. And I do this little like a totem thing, but I didn't turn it on. I was like, I didn't want to mess it. And then they get 2 late goals because I actually thought they would blow them out personally. But they do get the 3 points, put some pressure on Liverpool the next day, and we'll talk about that. West Ham 0, Brentford 1. Glenn, how did this turn about where Brentford is a better away team now? Whereas at one point they were like undefeated at home. I think it was like 14 weeks in or something. And now they can't do much at home, but they win every away game, it feels like. What do you want to say about the game?
Yeah, 3 in a row, I think it is now. Crazy. I said it would regress to the median, right, a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't expect it to go this well. I meant a couple draws and maybe 1 win for the rest of the season. This is great to be winning away from home. Yeah, I mean, talking of the venue, West Ham Stadium was silent for most of it. The fans, were miserable for most of the game, and you can see why. We should have put the game to bed during the first half. A couple of goals ruled out, hit the post, missed some really good chances, and got a deserved goal from Kevin Schade. And we scored quite early in the game. So that helped kind of push the momentum, to us early on, which was really nice. And yeah, West Ham were just really passive, offered nothing. You haven't really been able to see Potter implement much of a system so far, or it's like it's not looking any better than it was under Lopetegui from me watching 90 minutes of them. And we just look good. And our biggest problem this game was not putting it to bed earlier. We had so many chances, as I said, and the problem is that means you should be 3-0 up by halftime at least, and then it means you get to 90 minutes. They made a triple change at halftime, I think it was. They looked brighter for 20 minutes, but we still were the better team overall. But you don't want to be defending a corner 90+4 when you've been dominant for most of the game. That's not a position you ever want to be in. So I was so glad we saw it.
I feel the pain, yes.
Yes, exactly. So, you don't want to be putting yourself in that position. So on one hand, fantastic win and no complaints and really pleased. West Ham are clearly a team that are just unable to put together any sort of form at the minute, regardless of manager. But yeah, it was a nervous watch because we weren't clinical enough and we didn't put it to bed, as I said earlier. So it meant, it really stretches out the tension, doesn't it? Right into added time when you've had so many chances, you've goals disallowed, post hit, as I said. But great to get the win. Great to see Kevin Schade, who's really coming good this season, get another goal. I said he was a bit disappointing earlier this season, and he's really proven his worth with a couple of really handy goals. And yeah, I don't think anyone who watched the game, West Ham fan, Brentford fan, neutral, could say it wasn't a fair result. So yeah, another win away from home. Absolutely buzzing with that.
Yeah, I mean, Brentford has become like Bizarro World, from a team that would only win like 4-3 at home to a team now winning away like 1-0. That seemed like a very unlikely score, like 10 weeks into the season and stuff like that. But this has been a likely score since week 10. Southampton losing again. Southampton 1, Bournemouth 3. Southampton almost made it a fight. I think they came back from 2-0, made it 2-1, and they were grabbing the ball, like starting the kickoff and stuff, and all they did was basically wake up Bournemouth. Villa 1, Ipswich 1. Ipswich goes down to 10 man. We do meet each other tomorrow. How concerned should I be? Because I'm very concerned, Shay.
I would not be concerned because we literally have no depth. You're playing a battered team. That's fighting their way through it because I just saw Boubacar Kamara is going to be out for another 2 weeks. So, our makeshift center back is now gone. So just love that since we have, I think, 3 matches in the next 5
Hey,
days.
Fenerbahce can always send Diego Carlos back if you want.
He got hurt this first
wheelchair
day
or something.
What do you get to talk about that? We literally sold him to you first match. He's hurt. I was like, I could have told you this. That's the reason why they shipped him off. But attacking wise, maybe a little bit because Rashford and Asensio, that first game against Spurs, my goodness, I don't know what I was watching right there just to see 2 like quality players like that play. But it's just the defense, man. I'm telling you, all you got to do is just play a couple long balls. He'll probably beat whoever's back there because I don't think Mings is fully healthy. Same with Konsa, he was hurt, so it's going to be Disasi for his first start, and then probably Lamar or Bogard. So we're playing a youth kid back there. So it could end up being a massacre, which I hope not. Because I'm trying to.
The thing that worries me is as I watched that Ipswich game, and I know they didn't score and like come back and win the game and stuff, but it feels like the presence of Asensio and Rashford and stuff. While there's a lot of disconnect because obviously they just showed up, you can kind of tell the quality that any given moment one of those guys can do something that can change the whole game and maybe win you some games you had no business of winning. You know what I mean? Or like save you some points. And
I will say like they probably should have done that against Ipswich, but their goalkeeper decided to play the best game of his entire life.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if anyone.
There is that crazy save that he did.
Every shot, basically. So, like, it was not meant to be that day. He was like, we're going to get a point regardless. Villa can try and try and try. I mean, I saw so many opportunities just like, at what point does it go in? But then I was also watching it as, just a fan of the game. I was like, this guy's playing one of the best games I've ever seen. Just let him have it at this point. Like, yes, 3 points. So I'm just like, let this guy just have this for his, his career. But just with Rashford coming on for that 45 minutes, it's something that we haven't had and we've been lacking for a long time. Just an explosive wide player. Like, I thought that would what Diaby would have been when we had him. But like I said, we had him for a year and then sold him. And Leon Bailey's just kind of decided to not play at all this season. So just good to see Rashford, because like we discussed, when we signed him, so this is for him to remake his image in a sense of like, hey, I can still play in the top flight. I want to go wherever I want after this. So I think he'll probably get his first start this week or tomorrow. So we'll see what happens.
He's always dangerous.
Like I'm just saying that defense makes me nervous. So.
Yeah, well, it's not a good guy to play when you have a shaky defense in Rashford because he's not tracking back. I mean, he never. Yeah. And I don't know, like that's the interesting part to see. That's why I was kind of like watching it a little bit to see is the work rate of a guy who escapes the United hell is going to be different now, or this is him. It is what it is, kind of thing. Let's.
He may. Do a
little bit let's hope not tomorrow, and then he can do whatever the hell he wants. Let's go with that. You are getting smaller and smaller in that couch as we approach this game over there, Sully. I saw you like sinking back in.
I knew you were going to say
like Simpson thing.
Let's go to the Newcastle game, and I was going to be like, let's not do that.
So what the heck happened there? That game ended before I got a chance to tune in. It almost felt like.
So I have a student in my class who huge soccer fan, and we were talking about the transfer window, and I was saying how I thought Mamouche was an unbelievable signing, kind of singing his praises for a couple of weeks, and then he laid that egg against Madrid in the Champions League, and my student came in the next day and was like, "Ha, your guy Mamouche, like what are you on about?" And I was like, maybe he's right. Maybe this freshman in high school knows more about ball than I do. And then Saturday came around and I realized, you know what? I know exactly what I'm talking about. It was going to be, I think it was a classic letdown spot for us. I don't think we've looked particularly good since Arsenal. Even against Brighton or not Brighton, sorry, Birmingham. In the FA Cup, we struggled last weekend. We look all out of sorts. Not having Joe Linton in the midfield kills us. Not having.
How long is he out?
We hope to have him back. But target is Carabao Cup, so you'll see plenty of him in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's what that's why I was asking. Okay.
I know. Botman being out also is a problem. I think. Something that was not on my bingo card for issues for Newcastle is the keeper situation. Both Pope and Dubrovka don't look good. And there's the old saying: if you have two running back, or you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one. Well,
Yeah.
two keepers, and we don't have a starting keeper. It's keeper by committee who can put together the best string of games. And when your defense is already injured and a little shaky, that can be the final nail in the coffin. Trips looks checked out. He did not have a good game. He was subbed off, I believe, at half. He has not been playing well as of late. He looks bored. He looks disinterested. I would not be shocked if he leaves this summer, and it's such a bummer because he was sort of the first guy that kicked off this new era.
Yeah.
But it was every facet of the game. I mean, Newcastle. We were playing the training cone defense. Like, City could do whatever they felt like, whenever they felt like. And I almost think we're lucky it was only 4-0. That could have been 6-0 pretty easily, and we just didn't have any fight. So I hope we get back on track here pretty quickly. But there are some cracks right now, and they're widening day by day.
I think that Joel Linton thing, and yeah, Trippier is like interesting, man. He looks like he aged 5 years in like one season, right? Like, you talk about like as players age, they diminish, and like he looks like he just fast forwarded like 5 years. He was like wine, and then like somebody left the cap on or something.
It's often like the speed that goes first. That's like the telltale sign. And you'd think a player like Trippier is smart enough to overcome that lack of speed. But I mean, even in his dead ball delivery, it's just not there. And I don't know if something is lingering with him, but he looks old. He looks much past his prime. Again, something we're going to need to address this summer is going to be a right back.
Well, let's get to this one, because I know you're a happy camper over here, Alex. I mean, I was kind of shocked when it was 1-0, then they make it 1-1. I'm like, okay, here they come back, like Fulham being Fulham again kind of thing. I didn't get to watch the game. Is that a fair result at the end?
Absolutely. I think Fulham dominated long stretches of this one, and even if you watch Chris Wood's goal, it really is just a hoof it long.
Yeah.
It took a bounce, and then he just happened to be there. And again, when you score, what is he on now? 18 goals? It's not all luck. Like, he's creating his own luck at some level.
It's but like a confidence shot. Like, he probably would not normally take that, but everything I touch turns into gold.
That is the classic Chris Wood goal. He kind of pushes a guy, he falls over himself, and then like he puts shots. So like classic Chris Wood goal. Yeah, no, absolutely, fully deserved. I think Fulham played so well, and this is one of those games that is. I mean, everyone on Twitter was talking about it in the Discord and the WhatsApp. He's saying, like, especially when he scored, is like, this is the problem with Fulham all year long, is they play well for long stretches. They look good. They play pretty football. They get a goal, and you're like, all right, let's go get a second, go get a third, and they don't do it. They just spurn all these chances, and then one goal, and the team unravels, right? And we've seen it over and over again this year, and to see it not happen against a team that's really flying high like Forest was exciting. Yeah, fully deserved. I think, again, should have been 2 or 3. If you look, I looked at some of the stats. I know stats don't always tell the whole picture. I mean, shots were 24-8, corners rate to 4, shots on goal was 10-2. Like, the Fulham dominated possession, which I think Forest were kind of okay with at times. Is like kind of okay with letting Fulham obviously have the ball, but so Fulham took advantage and said, okay, fine. Yeah, Fulham looked really good. Genuinely, the first half was like, this is maybe the best half of football that Fulham played, if not all year.
When Adama Traore is getting assists and stuff like that, things are going well.
Did you watch the first assist? That was I've said it before, I'll say it again. If Adama could do that every week, he would never have left Barcelona. So like, the reason he's at Fulham right now is because he can't do that every week or isn't doing that. So to see him take a little touch inside and float it in, and even other times he get to the byline, it was unbelievable. He looked. And then, of course, the fan Premier League vote for fantasy, Chris Wood is voted player of the game. It's like, I know it's a fan vote, but give me I can't. But no, really good result. Generally, I think really good result for a Forest team who is flying high and I think exceeding any expectations of their fans, what they would have thought was possible at this point. For them to be up there and to have them come into the Cottage and handle them pretty consistently throughout the 90 minutes was exciting.
Yeah, I mean, Fulham is a really, really tough team to play right now, just because they can They're very dangerous, and if Bassey's on his game and stuff defensively, they're like looks a lot better overall too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not a team that's. I think we play you guys home this time, right?
I'm trying to.
Wait. I
Yeah,
hope you
let
don't
me look
play.
at the
Yeah,
schedule.
that's not a game I'm looking forward to either way. But
It's at the Cottage. It's in London. Yeah.
It isn't. Damn.
Yeah.
Palace 1, Everton 2. That's kind of like a shocker of a score. I don't know if anybody had that in their Tonali's picks, but Liverpool 2, Wolves 1. I don't think I've been this angry at like a few players in a while. Like you've been like Everton game. I was mad at Oliver because he just doesn't know how to ref. But this game, yeah, a couple of players like Nunez and stuff like that. I was making all kinds of like yelling and grunts and stuff. Even my wife, who's normally used to all those yellings and screamings and grunts, was shocked that she was like, wow, it's one of those. I'm like, yeah, I'm about to kill him, and I couldn't reach to the television. But this time of season, as they say, what counts is winning. So get another 3 points, make it back to 7 points, because I think that was a little bit of pressure seeing it go down to 4. Kind of like if we win tomorrow, I think that's a lot of pressure on Arsenal seeing it go up to 10. So I think that's going to be a game that we're going to play back and forth as long as Liverpool can win. But that is the last game of the week. Tottenham 1, United 0. I mean, Alex, that your line of the pillow fight of the week, I've been laughing at it since. And I didn't get to watch that after the Liverpool game. That was the post match, and then I was watching actually Fenerbahce play. But at the end of the game, I looked at that game for 10-15 minutes, and that is horrible soccer being played there. I mean, it was woeful. I would not want to be. I wish Jake was here. I know he wanted to pass his condolences to Aya, who's conveniently not here. But yeah, that's ugly. But we've talked about United a couple of weeks ago, and then we talked about Spurs with Jake when he saw them firsthand. I want to ask you guys about Chelsea. So let's go to the standings over here, because this is a team. I mean, I'll start with you, Shay, but guys, feel free to jump in. In terms of like Chelsea, this was a team that suddenly exceeded expectations. Is this just about coming back to reality? Is it more about suddenly when they're doing well and the expectations go up a bit, everybody's like, oh shit, we weren't ready for this? What expectations? And then, like that pressure kicking in. What is it, do you think, that they are not the Chelsea that we were, I don't know, looking at, talking about maybe like 2 months ago or so?
Yeah, I mean, they were flying high. I just think, same thing, how you just kind of said, the pressure got to them. I don't think any of these players have been in this position together as a team. So, they're probably not used to all of this. And when you just have Cole Palmer still being the main talisman and scoring everything, that's a lot of pressure on that kid when nobody else is stepping up and doing anything. You see that they have quality. Sancho has kind of shown why he hasn't been what the player and everybody's hyped him up to be from those City days. He really didn't do anything for them. Same with Madueke. Like, he chips in on the goal every now and then. But you got to have somebody else consistent helping. I think Nicholas Jackson going cold hurt them a lot too, because I think at the beginning he was scoring. Everybody's like, oh, he's actually turned to a striker that he's supposed to be, not what he looked like.
And then now he's gone, like a month or something like that, they're saying, right?
Yeah, I think he's gone. So they don't have him. And I just think it's just that. It's not for lack of – I think the coach doing a really good job. Like, Maresca's probably proven that he is the right man for the job, at least at this time. Like, he's stabilized them and cleaned up house, per se, because I know at the beginning we talked about Sterling, them treating him pretty bad, but apparently he is doing an absolute ass at Arsenal too. So for him, unfortunately, I think Father Time has caught up with Mr. Raheem too, because he's played like 600 something games at the age of 30. So I think his, kind of like how we were saying with Trippier, I think they have hit a wall in their professional careers now. They either, if they want to keep playing, I hate to say, it's time to come to the MLS or something just to make some money and play, or just retire and just like, hey, enjoy your life, because I don't think they can handle it anymore.
Yeah.
But I also don't blame them, because that's a crazy amount of running that these two guys have done for a long time. So, I can see them coming back. I mean, they do play us next. Hopefully we beat them. And if that does start their downward trend, that'd be fine. We can, overtake them. So
I mean, Sully, is it a matter of, they were, I think even when, like, Jay was on here, like, he would always have, like, call Palmer FC, Palmer FC and stuff. Is it like because Cole Palmer is kind of like not in the form that he was? He was overperforming, so he was kind of carrying the load. He's a normal guy now, back to being a human. And is that basically the end of Chelsea in terms of the run?
You know, there's still a lot of season left, and I think a team like Chelsea is going to be prone to its purple patches and its time where it's really struggling. I still think, as much as they have stabilized the issue, I still think that the players haven't completely meshed together yet. And, you know, looking at a lot of teams, you know, like Liverpool, for example, Szoboszlai, Gakpo, McAllister, those are guys who can carry the load. You know, if one guy's having an off day, you have different ways to attack another team. I don't think they have that with Chelsea. I think if Palmer is not playing above his pay grade, I think they really do struggle. It'll be interesting to see, you know, how this continues to shake out, and, you know, even in the next season, if they qualify for Europe, what does that added pressure do to you know, to team stability and what their players are being asked to do. Shout out though to Yankuba Menta, former Newcastle product, scoring those late 2 goals. Somebody I'd really like back on Newcastle right now. You know, that's in a long list of players: Chris Wood, Elliot. Oh, now I'm gonna blank. Elliot. What's his face? Elliot Anderson, Lloyd Kelly now, like,
Yeah,
got to get back into the transfer window. But, you know, I think Chelsea is still wait and see. I think Chelsea is still very much wait and see what we get by the time we're in late April, early May.
I mean, we know your love for Chelsea, Alex. So I'm sure you're like really, you're hating this.
This is really breaking me up here. They're struggling. Really hate it.
But I mean, okay, so we were talking about, like, Shay was talking about the manager, like, kind of like doing a good job, and I do agree, because it was kind of like a mess in the beginning, right? KG says Chelsea's most experienced players is only 23 years old, going through a cycle that every team goes through. I think here's my thing though, when we look at it, and I think that's a good point, but I guess here's my question to you: is when we had, is it kind of like the reverse of what we went through with Pochettino, or what they went through with Pochettino, I guess, where they started rough and then it was going better. We were like, okay, he's weeding out, you know, like his squad, blah, blah, blah. And then he was kind of doing good. And then he gone, like he's cans. Whereas we're kind of almost seeing a little bit of the reverse now. Or do you think, like, does Chelsea pull the plug again if this keeps going like this?
You know, I mean, the answer is yes. Like, the will Chelsea pull the plug is kind of an evergreen yes answer. Like, that will happen. I think this is indicative of similar to what KG there is saying, is like, this is not going to be a linear thing. It feels like, where they started kind of meh, and they went on a big run, and then all of a sudden they're challenging for the title, and everyone's asking, is this a title contending team? And obviously it wasn't. And I think we're just seeing a little bit of that regression to the mean. I think we saw with Cole Palmer, like, when he's not in otherworldly form, and everyone is saying, like, this is the new striker for England, and he's going to lead England to the promised land. When he's not playing like that, you see that, yeah, they're an above average team. That's what they are. They're sitting in sixth right now. Like, that's kind of where, but I will say, I think, again, to Zaki's point of, this is kind of the cycle. It does put into perspective the job that Enzo's doing when you compare them to United and Spurs, 10 places below them. That, like, similar teams that are in this weird cycle of, like, new manager, new player, figuring out what the team is going to look like, how they want to play, and they're still in sixth, instead of sitting down there in 15th or 14th or wherever Spurs and United are. So, I don't know. Chelsea fans obviously are going to be bummed, but we'll have to take solace in, well, at least we're not them.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, that's a crazy stat, by the way. They were talking about how Liverpool had more wins than Spurs and United combined going into this weekend. That is a crazy, crazy stat. 25th weeks, that is just a crazy stat. But is it just as challenging as those situations, Glenn? Because I feel like United is just toxic, and then Spurs, I mean, we've talked about them before. Is it injuries? Is it the style and stuff like that? Which job out of those three you think is the easiest?
Oh, that's a good
Well,
question.
I
Just
guess
giving an easy
Spurs probably
question.
just because the expectations are lower. I'll answer it for you, but
Yeah. That's a great one. I mean, well, a lot of the clubs have wasted money, right? Spurs are probably the least guilty of wasting money. They haven't invested as much in the players on the field, right? And this is the tension with the Spurs fans and Levy and stuff. They got the stadium, etc., but they haven't invested in the playing squad. You can't say the same about Man United. You certainly can't say the same about Chelsea, who have spent 1.5 billion in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And they haven't got a serious Premier League goalkeeper, and they haven't got a serious Premier League forward. I mean, how on earth? It's just a complete failure of recruitment and like leadership. It's a complete failure at the club. Like it's a colossal failure. And in most industries, you get fired for, using funds that way, right? For recruiting a team in any industry that bad and that inconsistent. Like, honestly, they're lucky they struck gold with Palmer because he's had the weight of the team on his shoulders. And Jackson blows hot and cold, as a few of you have said. And when he's in hot form, I think he's good, but he's not consistent enough to guarantee you a top 4 spot. Yeah. And it's also interesting that think about the money combined that Arsenal, Chelsea, and United have spent, and there is not a world-class forward at either of the clubs, any of the 3 clubs. That is insane to think about. Like this, it's just like the simplest thing in football over the last couple of decades is if you have a consistent goal scorer, whether it's Harry Kane, Jamie Vardy, whoever it is, it usually ends up in success, right? Of some sort. At least it makes the rest of the team better, right? Van Nistelrooy, thinking about how Leicester are doing in his management role, right? Think about these players who have scored goals for these clubs. Drogba, where is a Drogba at any of these clubs, right? You think about how many important goal scorers have kind of elevated teams, whether they've won stuff or they haven't. It just blows my mind that these 3 massive clubs have failed so incredibly. And Johan Wester from Brentford would do a decent job at either of those 3 teams right now. Ivan Toney would do really well at any of those 3 teams. Yep. He would fill a void at all 3 of them. Ivan Toney would make Chelsea, Arsenal, Man United better this season. And yet, for whatever reason, they've chosen to waste the money. With Chelsea, it's this weird baseball-style hoarding of young talent that hasn't seemed to have any, real concrete significance in the Premier League here and today, except with Palmer. And yeah, it's a shambles. And they've had Sanchez in goal for half the season, who's useless. They had the other guy who's come in, who's fine. He's adequate. He's maybe like a Premier League goalkeeper, sure. He's nowhere near the quality of David Raya or someone like that. So they've spent 1.5 billion pounds, Chelsea, and they've got very, very, very little to show for it. And they've just got lucky with Palmer being the talent he is. And no wonder he's getting pissed off and his head's down because they've ridden on his coattails for months and months and months under Maresca.
Yeah, I mean, that's and they have the world's most expensive goalie playing at Bournemouth, which is it's just like the irony is. But I think what KG is saying about like throwing money at all different directions. And the funny thing is like the image I'm sharing actually was in the WhatsApp group I'm in with a bunch of other channels like us that do like Liverpool content and stuff like that. And the person who put it over there is like, how embarrassing it is. It's disgusting that we're not even in the top 5. And I'm like, I mean,
you don't want to be.
Okay.
Like, this is net spend. This is
net spend. And look at the money. And if anything, this should tell you that money does not bring you success. You should not be disgusted with this. You should be kind of happy with this. I think what, in terms of throwing money in different directions, and I know what's, like Zaki is saying in terms of, you don't have like the old school number 9s, but based on how you're playing, right, Shay, you need the specific forwards to fit. Like, it might be Bobby for that Liverpool team, and it might be like a Drogba back then, or it might be Isak, for example, at Newcastle and stuff. But here's the thing, when, like Zaki's saying, when they're throwing money everywhere, they're like, that guy looks good. Well, get him in here. Like, it doesn't work like that. You can't just get a bunch of new people in. It's almost like you're trying to put on outfits, and then you get, you put the pants, and then you put shoes, but then now you change the pants. The shoes were fine, but now the pants don't fit the shoes, so you got to change it again. It's like it's impossible to put an outfit together when you're constantly grabbing different things and throwing it on you. And it feels like that's what they're doing. They see a talent. How old is he? 18? Get him in here. Maybe he'll stick. And I don't think you can, while they have a ton of players like that, and they have a backup plan, they can sell to Strasbourg and Saudi and stuff like that. But it's hard to get a consistent team to build on and actually add pieces you need when you're just scooping people at a time instead of getting what you need to the squad. Well, I'm probably talking to the wrong guy when I talk to the Villa guy.
Well, not even
in January, but
we have gone and bought a bunch of players back in the day, kind of thing. You always throw your money at the problem that you are trying to solve, and sometimes it's a panic buy. Hell, we did it the year we got relegated. We bought that one random dude from what was it, Ali Samata. We bought him for like 20 million pounds in January. Same thing, like how Zach was saying, like there's no number 9. We bought this guy because he was scoring goals in Europe. Didn't truly scout him. We just saw he was scoring in Europe. Bought him. He scored 1 goal for us the whole season. He was gone the next. So we just wasted $20 million on this guy that played not even 6 months left. And like how you said with the poacher being, I think they're still out there. It's just everybody has gotten away from that because they just want to keep playing with pace. And like sometimes the speed is not everything about the game. Like I think what Pep has ruined the game as much as you want to say it because they all want to do the pass. Everybody's scared shitless to take shots. We don't see these crazy goals like we used to about 10 years ago. People would just blast it just to do it because they knew they had the ability to do it. And I guarantee there's so many guys that can do it, but they know they're going to get yelled at by the coach. Oh, why are you doing this? Or let's do build-up play. Because like for me, watching Ollie, that's my biggest complaint about him. He doesn't do hold-up play. He's always running onto the ball. And sometimes it works, but it doesn't work all the time. You need to have him, hey, I'm going to put my back to the defender. I'm going to hold it for 2 seconds, let somebody run onto it, and give you an extra chance. And that's what Drogba was absolutely clinical at doing, and he could still run onto it. Harry Kane would do that. Like Holland kind of does that, but he can't because the team and the style of play doesn't allow him to do it. So he is just a freak of nature, which we've always talked about. Like people probably hate him, but you have to respect a guy like that as your true poacher striker, but he has to play a completely different style, and the fact that he's able to do it so elegantly and the man can just score out of nowhere. So I just think that's what it is with Chelsea. They are missing that, and I think Nicholas Jackson's the strikers that we've all seen. They just run onto the ball. They're not that poacher. And like how Glenn said, the fact that for 4 years all these teams have needed this, and you're telling me they haven't gone and scouted. Like sometimes you have to give that unknown player a chance. Nobody knew who Ruud van Nistelrooy was truly. Damir Berbatov, you didn't know these guys. Like they all came from teams in Europe, but they scouted them. I don't think people scout anymore as much as they used to. I think it's just, hey, this kid did really good on Instagram. We're going to sign him. We're going to pay a bunch of money like Chelsea is. Like make their transfer fee too high and just put all this expectation on these kids that aren't ready for it. So it's hard to see.
And on that point, Shay, it's interesting because I think we're seeing now that more money is in the game than ever. And so more clubs than ever have money to spend. And so it used to be, if Fulham come in for Berbatov when he came over, like Fulham at that stage could afford to pay him because really the rest of the world didn't have any money. So not any money, but compared to now. But now you've got, bottom clubs in Ligue 1 or bottom clubs in Serie A. Like there's a lot of cash floating around. And so, if you're some unknown kid from Bratislava, like you might get an offer from Southampton, which you might go, I don't want to play for a relegation club, but it's Premier League. And you might get the same wages at a tier 2 side in France. Like there's so much money in the game now that the big guys can't just come in and scoop everybody up. So they have to be like, screw it, give them a big deal.
Also, I feel like we got to do better at all the teams to do better at scouting. Just like I said, let these kids play somewhere for a little bit and just try to learn the system. Like I said, you're throwing them into the wolves when you come straight in the Premier League at that young age. Like I don't see Berbatov and them doing as well as they did back then, just because like they built them up before they came over here. Because a lot of those guys came over like when they're about 23, 24-ish. So, they already had a couple years of experience, not 18, 19, and here you go. Have fun.
Well, nowadays, a 23-year-old's legs are cooked.
Yeah, they're
you know what I mean? Like, you send them to the glue factory. These guys are done at 25.
Shay, one of the things you said, about how would they be as good nowadays? Yes, I think it would take some development, but if you dropped that style of player into the modern game, I think they do very well because I don't think defenders are used to playing against a true number 9 right now. I think forwards are making forwards are making the job of defenders pretty darn easy by just running onto it. That's part of the reason why Isak, why Holland, all like there is a handful of true number 9s in the world right now. They are so few and far between. And even coaching at the high school level, it was so difficult to find a striker, to find a forward who could just tap the ball in the back of the net. It'd be interesting to see what Van Nistelrooy could do with a team that's better than Leicester, that isn't, still running Jamie Vardy out every day. Like to see what he could do with a young striker, see if he could teach him some of his old bag of tricks. But yeah, it's a dying art, and I think if one manager, one academy dedicated some time to really focusing on producing strikers and just becoming almost like a striker factory, then I think we could see the game change. But right now, it's a dead position almost.
Yeah. It's all about the
wide players. Is that because of the style that people play in? By the way, that's a great business idea. We should open a number. We'll call it number 9.
Number 9.
Open an academy where we just get a bunch of tall dudes and be like, let's see who can be a number 9. Go ahead, Alex.
Well, too much. I think to your point, I don't know if it's a fully dead style, because I think that's what we've seen under Marco Silva at Fulham, is that he was able to play this kind of build out of the back. And people say Pep ruined the game, and it's like the Steph Curry effect, where now you have like 12-year-olds pulling up from the logo, and it's just and if you look on a side note, if you look at the NBA now, like the game is broken. Like they figured out the optimal way to play the game. It's dunks and threes. If you look at a shot chart, that's it. The game has been optimized and figured out. Aside from that, football's getting that way, where everybody wants to play from the back. Even if you don't have the personnel to do it, everybody wants to play out that way. And so I say that to say about Fulham is Marco has kind of created this system where he wants to play out of the back. But then for several years, we had a Mitrovic, which is that kind of just bully ball, back to the goal, collect, dish it out, and then just put your head down and run through somebody. And when it works, it really works. Because to your point, I think Sully said it, there aren't a lot of defenders who know how to deal with someone like Mitrovic. Raul is kind of a poor man's Mitrovic, but plays a little bit like that sometimes. But that ability to just, again, put your back to the goal, put your elbow into someone's gut, receive the ball, and then run off of it, you really don't see it. Yeah.
Is it because of the game, though? Like, Glenn, the game has changed. Like, I understand what you guys are saying, but we are asking for that 9 to do a lot more now than what we used to ask the 9 to do back in the day. Like just get your ass in the box, hold the ball. Yeah. Whereas now you're like, well, we got to press, you got to close down because the teams are building from the back. So you got to do some kind of pressing. You got to close in between the lines. You got to do your, I don't remember all that stuff, and I'm old enough. Maybe I don't remember because I'm old, but like 20, 30 years ago, you put the number 9 in the box. And you don't need to defend, dude. Just we're gonna load it. You're gonna either bring it down or get it in goal, and that's kind of like. Whereas now there's a lot more being asked, so you have to be a lot more technical, and in some ways better tactically.
Yeah, but look at the teams who are still keeping it simple, right? Nottingham Forest with Chris Wood, 18 goals this season. They're keeping it simple. He's just banging in the goals. Isak's a bit more well-rounded than Chris Wood. He's a slightly different player, but they're keeping it simple. They're giving him the chances. He's getting the goals. Can say the same. Look at Crystal Palace's change in form the last couple of weeks. Mateta, goal every day. He's like the simplest kind of style of football you want, which is a big guy who's quick and aggressive, who is clinical, right? Look at players like Wissa for us, Ollie Watkins at Villa, not essentially the same, but they're clinical goal scorers. And these are the types of player. Yeah, Delap's a great example of an old school forward, right? He would be useful at a fair few clubs in the top 6 this season, having a Delap around to really bully defenses. So, there's a role for players, maybe like Cunha, who do a lot. He's also a, classic forward in some ways, but I also see him drop deep and pick up the ball. He's a creator as well. He, for me, is a hybrid. He's creative, but he's also a poacher. But yeah, some of the teams like Haaland, just think of his only role in the City team, for better or worse, and we've talked about both sides of this on the show, is to score goals. Man City have kept it simple. Now, it hasn't worked this season, and honestly, that's probably due to the players around him. It sure as hell worked last season. So if you think, Haaland, Wood, Isak, down the pecking order to Worcester and stuff. Like, these are teams that still know the value of an old school forward, and most of them are doing well, with the asterisks on City. Certainly the forwards are still scoring goals. Haaland, it's been a very inconsistent season for him. He's on 19 goals. He got a load of hat tricks early on, right? Which gave him a head start. But these are teams. I just think Nottingham Forest are such a shining example of old school football, which is like a robust back 4-5, quick wingers in Elanga especially, who's just been a genius this season, and they're just getting it to Chris Wood. And yeah, he's been hyperclinical, and it's amazing. You don't think he can reproduce the numbers. He's scoring like almost every other shot. He keeps doing it, right? Because he's in form. Yeah. But he, for me, epitomizes, and he's done it for years, right? But he epitomizes the old school way of playing. And it's really given Forest a hell of a lot of success this season.
Yeah. See, my thing is, though, I don't know, like, Sully, you coach. I feel like now, like, I've heard that same thing about Delap, for example, like, if we had him at Liverpool and stuff like that. I think he gets lost. I almost feel like, and I don't know if it's just me, but teams, first of all, defend a lot better. And I think it's one thing to be Ipswich's fighting guy up top, Forest's fighting guy up top. I think Haaland is kind of exception to the story over here, where he can get goals, but you don't get, those guys get lost in the box when they play against teams that sit back. So if if we have the lamp, and then you're playing at Anfield, and he's just going to get lost between the 5 center backs, probably, which is going to put in the box to defend. And if he's not good at interplay, I mean, heck, look at Nunez. I mean, I think that's like the biggest thing with Nunez. I mean, he has the speed, he has the size. I know he's not as good in the air as like the Lap and Haaland and stuff like that, but I feel like when you play for the top teams, you're going to face a lot of teams that sit back, who defend a lot better than they did a couple of decades ago. So you have to be a lot more technical than you used to be. You have to be in the interplay. Like I say, Haaland, that's why Haaland is such an odd exception to the rule to me.
He's a freak. Haaland's
yeah. Yep. But hey, when he's not scoring, and I know, like we say, well, that's his job. That's what he's there to do. Yeah. But when he's not scoring, he's freaking invisible.
Yeah.
So when they struggle, he is invisible. But that's what I'm talking about. Like, because the defending has gotten a lot better, the demand for that 9 is not. So is this academy a good idea at the end of the day, too? That's what I'm asking you, Sully.
I think it still is, like you said, but that's why you have different style of strikers. If Haaland's not playing well that day, but that's all it's catch-22, because at any moment the man will score, but you got to make that tactical decision. Like I'm sure Sully does, like when they're playing, like, hey, right now this guy's not doing it. We're gonna take him off. You make that change. You put in the pacey striker that everybody else is used to playing. So I think, but most teams don't have that play, or they don't have that luxury of having both of these strikers, where City don't really have it, but they have the players around him. I feel like that Marmoushka can play behind, or play second fiddle to Haaland, in the sense of like, hey, he's gonna be that pacey guy, technical guy. So we take Haaland off, we know we have this kid playing.
And something I learned way too late into the game with high school soccer, just, if you have the fastest guy on the field, you're going to win the game. I should have learned that lesson much sooner. But I don't know if I agree with that. Defending is better these days. Excuse me. Like, thinking back to late 90s, early to mid 2000s. There's a lot of defender, like there's 20 or so world-class defenders that you can rattle off. And
we lost him.
Yeah, see, you can't rattle them off that easy.
The internet said no. We're not letting him finish this point.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Okay, you're back.
I'm back. I was gonna say, Van Dijk is a striker stopper. That's a player who can stop a striker. When they're healthy, Real Madrid's back line can stop strikers. I don't know if defending is better than it has ever been. Timothy, you were saying, strikers are being asked to do way more. I think defenders are being asked to do way more.
Oh yeah.
Especially your outside backs, you're relying super, super heavily on them to get up into your attack. And if a team is playing a 4-back and you have a world-class striker, that world-class striker is going to find himself in a lot of one-on-ones. If the wings are up, one of the center defenders plays a little high, you get that gap in there. And I think if more strikers were world class, players would be able to exploit that more. I think that's a very underutilized aspect of the game at this point. I mean, even CDMs are playing much higher up the field. Part of the reason like the sweeper position died, I think, is because you don't have any of these strikers.
I know. Tell me about it. That's why I have to hang it up.
RIP to the sweeper. Like, man, that was a great job.
But here's the thing. I was a sweeper because, let's face it, that's why I feel like defending is better. Defenders are better players overall. I was a sweeper because I had the defensive awareness. I could put in a tackle, but probably was not as good on the ball. So I had no business being anywhere near midfield. And honestly, I wasn't a fast guy either, so I wasn't going to be off top. Whereas now they are being asked to do a lot more. And I think, like Zacky's talking about like less crossing, everybody's talking about being a lot more compact now. That's like the key word, right? When you're defending, be compact. Let him cross it in. We're going to clear it out. Like those big boys, when they play with top teams, I feel like get lost in the middle. And I think, in terms of like defensive shape, I feel like teams are a lot better. Go back, like watch a game. I think, like Zaki was talking about watching from like the 08 season. Look at all the freaking space. Look at the space. Like I, watch my grandfather, like that guy right there. Like there's some old footage from those days. That's why I feel like Major League Soccer is kind of primitive, because it reminds me of like the soccer from the 70s and 80s, where like if you ever go back and watch those games, there's defense, midfield. It's like football, like it's like football. They're like, just give it to that guy. Okay, you guys are midfield now. Carry it over to this line and stuff. So it's like there's so much space to exploit. Whereas I feel like defenses are a lot more compact now, where you have to be skilled on the ball, because you're going against a guy who's not there to just like, if he wasn't playing soccer, he's just going to be a bouncer. Like these guys are actually good on the ball and actually like technically sound, if that makes sense.
I think we've seen that with like as players in every position have become significantly better athletes across the board. Where like used to be your number 9 and your center back could just be, like you said, a bouncer, an enormous human being that is physical and takes up a lot of space, but you're not expecting him to press. You're not expecting him, if you're a center back, to like actually touch the ball beyond just hoofing it up, which they did a funny interview with current Premier League players, and like none of them knew what that meant. They're like, what do you mean hoof it? What hoof it? What do you mean? Like, it's when you kick it long. Okay. Like none of them know what that looks like. But again, it's like the attacking players got more athletic and more skilled. They need to do that with the defenders as well. And the trade-off for that is you're not as big, you're not as intimidating, you're not as imposing. And so it's this constant battle, arms race of shifting back and forth. And sports tend to pendulum swing. So like we might get to a point where Sully gets his academy up and running, and we have a bunch of kids come out that are 6'7", 260 pounds and athletic. And then all of a sudden central defenders have to get big again. So we're in a phase right now. So to be right, it is compact. Everyone's an athlete. We'll jump up and knock it away, and we'll kind of defend in that way. And let people try and take us on. We trust that we're going to stop it.
Alex, I have a second business idea, and this is more for the U.S. national team. Like, we're a country that produces human beings the size of LeBron James.
I've been saying this for 20 years.
Glenn sees a lot of them in Iowa. These corn-fed boys. There are a lot of them in there.
Like, let's just go grab 20 of them, not even teach them soccer, just put them on the pitch, see what happens.
You just literally, I told Tim this on a podcast earlier. I was like, we have all these athletes, like, because I'm a big college football fan, and I watch college basketball. But there's guys that get rated 0-star or 1-star, and they're like, "Oh, you're not good enough because you don't have like the skill positions, but you're fast and tall." I was like, "Perfect, go get that kid. Let's teach this kid how to play soccer. We would dominate."
I know.
Can't coach speed, but then I also get it because then you also see John Morant, who was a 0-star recruit, is an absolute superstar. So it's such a hard thing to do. Yeah. And I understand it because that's where the money truly is in this country. But
we'll swing the pendulum back.
There's so much, like how you said, Sully, there is so much athletic talent in this country. It's just we haven't figured it out.
Okay, so bottom line is we have to make money.
We have to make money.
Oh.
Like finale.
The
Bingo.
only way
Great
we're gonna
segue.
make money is do some gambling. So we come to that time of week since we have all these business ideas and we need to make money. We hang out with Tonali and we see if we can get some good bets in with him. And so the higher the stakes, the better chance of opening this academy over here. Shay, we will start with you. I'm kind of like skipping the midweek game, going straight to the weekend.
Yep.
Where are you putting the money? And don't be wasting our freaking academy money on like useless game, by the way.
Yeah, no,
this is getting serious. So
Let's see what these matches look like real quick. Let's see, Saturday. You know what? I'm gonna go on this really greasy 6 a.m. Everton pulls it off. David Moyes gets his revenge.
Ooh.
is that even an upset anymore?
No,
That was my thing. I was gonna say, is that even an
Everybody
upset?
was shitting on him, and I know like you guys are anti-Liverpool or Everton, but I was like the fact that he's come in and has absolutely stabilized it. And they're playing like
Yeah,
They've won 4-4.
Kind of hilarious.
they had
won
no
4-4,
business
right?
tying that game.
I don't know.
Honestly,
They've literally been on a tear, and nothing has changed. It's just David Moyes. That's it.
yeah, right.
Same player. It's the same players. Nothing's changed. He just came in there and they believed.
Oh, they drew. That's right.
So I'm going Everton 2, United 0.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, that's God. That Spurs Tottenham like United game. God, man, that was horrific. That was really horrible. I mean, it was almost like, well, not sad. I was still laughing, but it was just sad in terms of like the sports is concerned. And you look at the money spent that we were looking at earlier. I mean, that is just that's just like ridiculous. Like, where does this money at? But Sully, where are we putting Tonali's cash?
Man, that Everton Man U game that was the hot ticket. I'm gonna go. Man, I think
You can go to the other one. It's which Tottenham.
Yeah, no. I was looking.
Stop, guys. Let me get in here. Man,
I think I'm gonna take West Ham with a draw at Arsenal. I don't think they're going to have enough to win, but I think Arsenal's lack of goal scoring ability, lack of a true number 9, is going to be very present in this game. So I could see a 1-1 or 0-0 draw, Arsenal West Ham.
Oh, that's music to my ears. Zach is going with the 3-1 Ipswich. That is a hot one. Glenn, place your money.
Yeah, it's tricky this week. I'm going to stick with my team from last week, which was Wolves. And I got it halfway right. If you remember, I said Wolves to get a positive result at Liverpool with Cunha getting the goal. So I got half of it right. And I still think they did enough across the 90 minutes to show that they're, decent team. They've obviously got a bit of quality. And Bournemouth are in form, right? This would be an upset. You wouldn't maybe have said this a year or two ago, but Bournemouth are flying. But I can see Wolves, Cunha's in form. He gets back on the score sheet, getting a win over in Bournemouth. So that's mine.
Getting a win at Bournemouth. Well, if you hit that, dude, we are opening this academy because I would think that Alex, chip in, man. What are we doing?
I mean, you kill me first with the Everton. That's easy money. I feel like just easy money. To have not won 4. They've won 4 or 5. They've taken 13 of the last 15 with the FA Cup loss sandwiched in there. But like, what a turnaround to go from truly death's door to like they're now above United and above Spurs, I believe, or maybe Spurs jumped above them. Anyway, now they're right up there. And then obviously my second one, because that was taken, was going to be Ipswich and Spurs.
Ipswich is still out there, right? No, Ipswich is still out there.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That was just a joke. Okay, good. Then that's absolutely lock it in. Ipswich are going to win. That's a true upset. I think the line on ESPN right now says Tottenham is the money line favorite. So lock it in. I've also decided I am going to actually put $5 on this. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. So come back and see. I'm not sure what the payout for that is. I'll do the
building that academy one brick at a time.
I'll start looking at Zillow and send you some links, Alex.
Well, and that's 5 stacks, by the way. 5,000.
Them bands.
Yeah,
well, we kind of figured.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how we talk here in the panel show. We just don't mention it. Man, you guys took all the good stuff. You know what? I'll go with this. Sully's not going to like it, but I think Forest bounced back and get something at Newcastle.
That's a dark timeline for Sully.
Yeah. That's the Newcastle rejects beating.
I
beating
think
on
they
the
do
home
get
club.
something over there. Well, let's take a look at this real quick, because I do want to get your guys' take on. I mean, like you're saying, Alex, suddenly that whole thing definitely changed over here in terms of like standings, and there's a huge gap. It looked like a couple of teams could be pulled down and stuff like that. United looks like accumulated. You never know, I guess, but enough points, and so has West Ham. Looks like it's going to be 2 out of those 3: Wolves, Ipswich, Leicester. I know we looked at this maybe like a month or so ago. I want to kind of go around and see if the votes have changed. Shay, who's going down out of those 3?
I'm going to keep it where it's at. I think Ipswich, Leicester will be the last 2. I think Wolves, I know they still look like crap too, but like you said, how Alex said, they have quality. Cunha's just got that big contract, so he's going to try to obviously secure a move somewhere else and get his stats up. But they're also they got really good team. They got a good team. I think they'll be fine. But I do see United somehow blowing it, and they're going to finish probably 16th. And if Wolves can scrape by, that'll be just the icing on the cake. At West Ham, they're going to be just clinching their holes the entire season.
I remember last year, you scroll up a little bit. Last year we were talking, it's not even close. I remember last year there was a conversation we had about, I think it was Chelsea and United, I think, at the time. And we were looking at it was sometime around this time of year. And we were like, well, who's going to finish lower than 10? Who's going to finish up? I honestly, looking at those, the point difference, there is no way United is finishing it. There's no way they're closing an 8-point gap with Brighton. So they're definitely going to be finishing in the second half. I don't even think Spurs. So both Spurs and United will not be there. And I think there's a good chance that they will eliminate each other out of the Europa. So somebody's going to be holding the short end of the stick. Sully, who's dropping?
As much as I agree with Shay. I think it's going to stay the same. Although it would be just incredible. Last match day, Jamie Vardy scores a goal to keep Leicester in the Prem, and then walks off into the sunset. That would be the.
Or they wheel him off the
He bursts into flames like a phoenix.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, like the Spinal Tap drummer, he spontaneously combusts. That would be a dream scenario, but I don't see it. Wolves is going to stay up. Ipswich, Leicester, and Southampton are going down.
Glenn, agree? Or somebody say today?
No, definitely agree. It's a shame it's a little bit boring. I will say that there's a period of the season for Wolves. It's a shame it's not a little bit tighter and that Southampton are cut adrift, because say they were a little closer to everyone, that would make it a little bit more interesting. But from March 8th through April 5th, Wolves are playing Everton, Southampton, West Ham, Ipswich in a row, which I feel like is going to be that run of games that really defines their season at the bottom, because they're all 6-pointers, right? They're all their relegation rivals. That's going to be huge. So I feel like we'll have a pretty good feeling of where Wolves are at by, towards the start of April. Yeah, I think they have too much quality, as we've said. I think Leicester are just sinking. They didn't invest enough in January. The fans are really upset about that. I think Van Nistelrooy was a pretty naive appointment on reflection, and I kind of thought that at the time. Had a bit of a false dawn with him. Not to say he's a bad manager, because I don't necessarily believe that, but I didn't think he had the experience for a relegation battle, first series, really first proper job in the Prem. That's just with a poor budget, right, and a pretty sad looking squad, to be honest. So,
what
top Bundesliga team is he going to go to?
No. He's going to be the general manager of our academy.
Yeah. So perfect.
So we're waiting for him to get canned so we can hire him over there. A little step down. But I'll be honest, that's the ultimate case of hustling, by the way. He beats Leicester City as a United manager, and Leicester City hires him just to find out that he's a fraud. I don't think he is. It was probably too soon for him, especially for a team fighting relegation. I think that's a different mindset, different battle altogether. Having said that, Alex, who makes that fight and lives to see another day in the Premier League?
Yeah, when we last talked about it, I think Palace were way down there and they've clawed their way out. I think there was one other team that West Ham was a lot closer. But yeah, I think honestly, it's going to be probably the 3 that it is now. I think there's enough quality. I think Glenn's right. That stretch will define really all of their seasons. And there's enough quality in that Wolves team that I think they'll kind of keep a 2 to 5 point gap the whole time and stay up. I'd love it if Ipswich stayed up. I love it if Delap could bring them across the line. And there's obviously still a chance that could happen. I said it would. My initial gut would that it would be someone between Ipswich and Leicester staying up and going down. And I thought maybe Everton would be down there with them, but they have not. So that's the difference to me, is that Everton and Palace have clawed their way out. But I hope Ipswich stays up. It'd be kind of fun.
I mean, yeah, my heart wants Ipswich just for sentimental reasons. Like, it would be good to see, but you look at Cunha. That's a guy who can keep a team up by himself, I think. So my plan is to sell Nunez to Saudi Arabia and go get Cunha with that money. I mean, I think that would be golden. Like, he's so good on the ball technically and stuff too. And he's the guy that can get you that goal. I mean, the goal he scored against this week and like the things he can do, I think he's a threat. And, you know, goals kind of like save you from relegation. They've obviously scored 35 goals to Ipswich's 23 and Leicester's 25. So I think they get goals. They get that run that you were just mentioning. I think gets them enough points to carry on. Archie is asking, this is something that I was actually going to ask you guys about a lot of other topics, but we started this academy talk, so it's just kind of like which those are conversations I enjoy. So we'll definitely take a look at that. I'll be honest with you, if you guys like, I watched Leeds Sunderland the other day. Yeah. Because as I was working, it was on, so I was like watching it. And honestly, if you want to go back retro, like watch soccer from 15, 20 years ago, like very physical. Half those would be red cards right now in the Premier League. No VAR. It's like it was old. It was like a time machine. Like you went back and watched the game 15 years ago.
You've never experienced the championship, Timothy, and it shows. It shows.
Yeah.
You have not lived. Everyone else here is like, oh yeah, no VAR, shit refereeing. Oh, this is home. This is home.
Hard-nosed soccer, they actually,
oh my God.
Oh, nice, love it.
Lots of lumping it forward. We were born into this, Timothy. Yeah, we know what that's like.
Yeah, I'm a spoiled brat when it comes to that. It was fun though. I'm sure it's not fun when you're trying to get out of it, but it's fun to look down and enjoy.
Yeah, with Mitro it was a lot of fun.
Well, thanks a lot, boys, for hopping on this week. And thanks to those joining us in the chats and stuff like that. Give us a like. Were you about to say something, Shay? I cut you off. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to answer Archie's question. I'll say Leeds. Well, it's theirs to lose this year again, just like it was last year. They are number one.
Now you guys are going to make me talk about this now and pull it up. Okay, championship.
But I will say, speaking of just bad relegation, I did not realize Luton Town is dead last. Is about to get relegated to League.
But look how close it is at the bottom there. Look how close that is. How fun is that? Well, not for a team at the bottom.
We're over here talking about Premier League points, and they're all like the 30s.
We lost to Plymouth, for God's sakes. What the hell is going on there, Glenn?
Yeah. And they were dead last too by several points. They've gone on a run. Plymouth have. Yeah.
So we're saying Leeds, Sheffield United. Any objections to Sheffield United making it?
Sheffield probably come back up, and then it's going to be that playoff between 3 and 6.
So who do you guys have out of those?
I'll take Burnley just so JJ Watt.
Ugh.
That's the reason not to take Burnley, to be honest with you.
Look at that 39 goals. Imagine being a Burnley fan. Scott Parker at the helm. Yep. And every match is a 1-0. He puts 8 center backs on.
9 goals against? Is that 33 games?
It's been 14 games, I think, since they've given up a goal. 12 or 14, something like that.
What do they have? Like 11 guys lined up inside the line, or what?
It's ridiculous. It's terrible.
This is the perfect foil to our academy.
Literally, football terrorism. Football terrorism is awful.
Wow, that I did not know that. That is
and so did you know the bet? So JJ Watt made a bet with the keeper at Burnley where he said, if you don't give up another goal the rest of the year, I'll come out of retirement and play for the Bengals. Because the keeper's a Bengals fan. And since that moment, he hasn't given
up. That's why I want it to happen, okay? I just think JJ Watt had to come out of retirement.
So, Alex, that was like a sports Mad Libs right there.
I know, it really was. It really was.
Brand new sentence.
So
the Bengals are like, we don't want his old ass in here.
Bengals are like, oh my God. Yeah, it's he hasn't given up a goal. It's been, I think, 12 or 13 matches.
We should do a live watch along for a Burnley game.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, thank you.
We'll time that out. But
I've seen
yeah,
enough Scott Parker.
it will
for one
probably
lifetime.
lose us followers. So, but while you're watching, give us a thumbs up, give us a follow. If you have a friend who has a team who wants to be on the panel to defend their honor, like Burnley or something like that, send them our way. Otherwise, have a great week, everybody, and we'll be back next week. Take care.